Till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beard.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Behind the Beards, where we do our best to pull the curtain back, take a look behind the scenes, and reveal the things that you need to know about your ministers and the people who are called to lead the ministries in your churches. My name is Joshua Fowler. I'm a preaching minister in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and my partner here on the other side of the screen is Aaron Partlow, a friend, brother, and just a partner that I've gotten to know for, I guess it's been the better part of a decade now. Aaron Partlow in Topeka, Kansas.
That's me.
What's going on in the great state of Kansas this week?
I am waiting to feel the wrath of my wife because I did not use my coffee creamer this morning, but instead I used her pumpkin spice coffee creamer, and it is a delish. But she will not be happy when she gets home and realizes. She's like one of those people that gets the Sharpie and puts the line on it, you know?
So she knows exactly how much
This is where it was when I left this morning.
Well,
So
my
she
wife, because she likes to really know how much she's using in each cup and wants each cup to be the same, she takes her creamers and she puts them all in individual cups, so that when she gets up in the morning, she can just grab a cup, dump it in. And if I'm making her a cup, I can just grab a cup and dump it in, and I've made her coffee exactly as she desires it.
Heather.
And she just started this recently, so even if I wanted to steal her pumpkin spice creamer, which I don't, I would definitely get caught.
This morning, I'm really trying to grab us some sponsors. So maybe Hydro Flask will see this and say, "Hey,
Maybe
Beards Hydro Flasks, great
Maybe.
idea."
Hey, we popped a question up here in the chat, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and see some folks kind of chiming in here. But we're going to be talking about time management and how time just sometimes either just stands still and you feel like the day's never going to be over, and sometimes you look up and all of a sudden it's time to go home and you've gotten 1/4 of the things done that you needed to.
That's right.
So what are
It's
some
amazing how
things?
that'll happen.
What are some things that either make time stand still or just fly by for you? We'll go over some of these things in the chat here in just a minute, but we're getting prepared. I'm going to talk about hurricane season like it's old hat and like I really, really know what's going on with hurricane season.
Right.
This is our 5th one. The first one, I guess, was partial, but we have used up all of the names for the named storms, and now we're going back through the alphabet again, just using, I guess, the military terms. So alpha, beta, gamma, which those are the.
Delta Epsilon.
I don't know. I don't remember if there was a C. Maybe it is the Greek alphabet because those are the Greek terms, and a lot of those kind of correlate to the military. You're using the wrong side. I can't see your Hydro Flask logo
my
when
bad,
you do
my
that.
bad. Well, it's because I'm not left-handed.
I know.
But fun fact, I think Sam is left-handed.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we're rolling back through the alphabet here, and Hurricane Delta is in the Gulf, and we have another. Right now, it's a Category 3 storm that's entering the Gulf around Cancun, headed our way.
They are definitely more intimidating when they are called by military names instead of like, "Oh, Hurricane Delilah is on her way over, sweeping in with her cool breeze." But when you're like Hurricane Delta,
Yeah, sometimes they have a little more menacing names. Umberto. They get something you can get a little accent to.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But so we'll see. It's supposed to make landfall around Friday or something.
Hurricane Damien.
We'll see. We'll see how things progress over the course of this week. But it's kind of crazy, man. It's been only in 2020, I guess, do we get to cycle through the alphabet again for
You know,
name
I
storms.
wonder, like, is 2020 really that bad, or is it just like, are we really just like, because it's 2020, we're like, oh, 2020.
I don't know.
Like, I don't know. I don't know. It seems pretty bad.
It
Seems pretty
seems-
bad,
It seems bad enough that I don't want to ask, good night, what next?
right? Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, don't say that. You're going
I
to
think
find
we
out.
shared this the other day, but like the theory of like time travel is real, and things keep getting worse because there's somebody who keeps going back in time and trying to change 2020, and so something worse comes along.
Murder hornets.
So if you are the time traveler, please stop. Like just stop.
Just leave us alone. Let us
Yeah.
get through this perfect vision year.
Let it iron out. Like, come on.
That's the other thing that I always have cracked up about is as we kind of got through. Well, when this the pandemic kind of first started, we were all isolated, and we're trying to learn how to be televangelists. All of a sudden,
I'm terrible at it.
someone popped up with this meme that said, "So all those ministers who did 2020 Vision sermon series to begin 2020, how many of them saw this coming?"
Right? Yeah.
You
That's really good. Oops.
Jonathan, yes, it all started with Kobe. It really did. That seems like it was years ago when
Too soon. Yeah.
Kobe
Sad
Bryant.
day. We had a young girl who was wearing a Kobe shirt at church on Sunday. I was like, the feels. She was like, what?
Hit me in the feels, man. Man, so time management.
Wow, 6 minutes into this podcast. Holy moly. Wow, time flies.
Yeah, we're right on time. We've got to get back to the future. I did not get to spend enough time talking to your father at graduation.
Yeah.
And the more I see his comments pop on here, the more I realize Heather might have, because she got to sit right next to him, being our hoodies. But
Is that the proper term for that?
I have no clue what the proper term is for that. Anointings, or anointed ones. I don't know.
Hooders?
Hooders. Things that make time kind of crawl or fly. I like Sunday morning announcements or church announcements. I don't know if you're talking about giving them, Jonathan, or if you're talking about preparing them, because I never really appreciated the difficulty of delivering church announcements, of kind of making people wake up and take notice. But sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, are these ever going to be over with?
There you are.
Oh, you got me again. You're just nodding and
Well, no.
assuming you agree what I'm saying.
No, I just had hit the volume, so you were like whispering in my ear, and I just wasn't into that.
No.
This is not ASMR behind the beards. Church announcements are church announcements are pretty critical. I have actually given this is when I knew ministry had a different face on it. Like, I went up and I gave an announcement, and then I went and I was talking to one of my parents, and I said, oh yeah, because we have this event coming up. And they're like, oh, what event? When are you guys doing that? That sounds awesome. And I was like, and I looked at him and I said, are you serious? Like, I just gave an announcement at the front of the church. And he looked at me and goes, yeah, I normally am just like on my phone when announcements come. Like, I'll just look at the email or something later. And I'm like, why do I even do this? Like, why do I even try to inform people about stuff they're not even gonna, like, I wonder how many of my emails go to instant trash, and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's from Aaron. Trash. I had that, and then they're like, can I get the Zoom link for the class? I never got it.
Yeah. So, do you use MailChimp? MailChimp. This episode brought to you by MailChimp, the mail delivery service that I'd used it in the past, but it's changed so much in recent years. Jonathan turned me on to MailChimp.
10%.
That's right. Ooh, click on the microphone on the top. Add BTB2 for. That's not going to work, but you can try it if you want. But MailChimp is just a mail delivery service. Got some email templates, help make your emails look a little more relevant, I guess. MailChimp. But it also has this tracking, and if any of my members are listening, now they're going to know my secret. I can see exactly who has opened my emails and who has not.
Whoa.
And they're really, really. This has nothing to do with time management, but we got there. So
Yeah, I know, right?
I get this notification like 2 days after I send the email, and it says 66.37% of your recipients have not opened their email. Would you like to resend it? Now would be a good time to send it to those again. I'm like, no.
Heather, how come you haven't opened my email?
And mostly it's more on some of those guys that, because our bulletin goes out to so many people,
Right.
And they're not all our church. Our announcement messages are read with a little more proficiency, but it is hard.
Writing the bulletin, no one reads it.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan, for that. Getting us off on church announcements. Man, it's they're rough, though. They're so hard.
Little did you know, this was an example of how time can get away from you by tangent. That's actually our first talking point here.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been really good.
It should have been. We could have made it so. But Sunday, Monday of camp makes time stands. Man, I'm kind of the opposite, Bryce. Sunday and Monday go by fast for me, but by Wednesday, I'm like, get me home.
Really? Huh. You might be the only person in the world that feels that way.
Maybe.
Because I am right there with Bryce. Like Monday, I'm just like, and it always seems like Monday's a little bit cooler, like in weather. So like you're moving a little bit slower, and I'm just like, where? This is Monday. Oof. First night of sleeping on a bad mattress, so your back's hasn't adjusted to just, you have not adjusted to just being in pain constantly. The ibuprofen hasn't kicked in because you didn't take it early enough like you're supposed to. Yeah, I agree with Bryce. Like, first day of camp is always so slow to me. Then by Wednesday, I'm streamlined. I'm like, oh, I know. It's like, I write the schedule. This is really embarrassing. Josh knows this because he's worked with me. I write the schedule, and yet I do not know the schedule. One of the major rules at camp is to know the schedule. And this guy never knows the schedule. But by Thursday or Friday, I'm like, I got it. It's easy. So by middle school camp, like I really look like I know what I'm doing. But yeah, I would agree. That's a big one for me. Just realized my window's open. I was like, why do I hear?
I think it's really comical to me that you're trying to, you said something about, it's cooler on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
And you're trying to convince people that you actually move faster and better when it's hot outside.
Yeah.
Is that what it's surely not what I'm hearing you say.
No, yeah, that's not true. I'm a wuss when it comes to heat. However, I do play frisbee golf better when it's a little bit warmer. So, interesting.
So there's that. Yeah.
So there's
that. It is so hard, time management. Probably one of the most challenging aspects. So when I was working in the car business, time management was given to you. It's given to you because you have appointments. People are coming to see you. You get there at 6:30 in the morning. The shop opens at 7. And once 7 o'clock rolls around, there's people waiting. And so there are some issues of time management that comes up in that, but so much of your day is dictated by the schedule. And then I get into ministry, and then the schedule, it's not really laid out for you. There's not this very strict regiment of office hours and tasks that must be performed. Rather, you have several tasks that have to be performed by a certain time, but no real deadline along the way. Mm-hmm. And so time management becomes one of those things that becomes such an important aspect of being successful. Otherwise, we'll talk about it in a minute. You get to that point where it's like, oh no, that's today. Like when I text a guy and say, hey, you still good for this morning? And someone says, oh, be right there.
This right here is my biggest. Now I don't want to say distractor because it's not like it distracts me, but this right here, which by the way I really wanted this picture to show because it's Lauren in Ruby. But I will be. It seems like when I get in a groove of doing something, and every preacher, every minister, everybody who writes a sermon knows, like you'll hit a spot where it's like it's flowing, and you're like, and and it's feeling really good. That's when somebody calls me, and they're like, "Hey, you got a minute?" And by a minute, they mean, "Hey, you got 2 hours?" Need to talk to you about my sister's grandmother's cat, who I'm afraid is going to hell. And you're like, what? That's. But in all seriousness, it's either someone calls or you hear the knock on the office door or something like that, and somebody goes, "Hey, you got a minute?" And so for me, it's one of my more difficult moments is time management in the sense of, okay, I was just working on the sermon. I had booked it for like these 2 hours. That's what I was going to do. That's where I was in the mindset for. I got to take care of this right now. I got to take care of this person. I need to help them or do that. Matter of fact, I used to write sermons I used to do my Wednesday night prep, a lot of it all on Tuesday. When I moved to Topeka, I had to really shift that, because Tuesdays is the day that we open up our food pantry.
Mm-hmm.
And at the start, like the ministry staff would be the ones who facilitated that and helped that. And it was a great ministry. Like I loved doing it, and I loved helping the food and having those conversations. But you know how impossible it is to write a sermon and then get up and then do food for 10 minutes, then go back and be like,
okay, where was I?
What was I doing? Yeah. It was just like almost impossible.
I usually have to leave the office about 4 or 4:30. I usually hit that groove about 3:55.
Yeah.
And largely that's because that's when everyone else is leaving as well, so everything kind of gets quiet. The day just kind of hits that lull, and it's like, okay, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yes, oh yeah, here we go. It's like, oh man, I got to go pick up so and so. I got to go get Dylan now.
They need the exercise.
Yeah. Dylan's almost, in 6 months, he'll have his driver's license, and I won't have to pick Dylan up from anything.
Nice.
All 3 of my kids will be of driving
I would
age.
Hope that your oldest one,
since he drives for the Marine Corps. Yeah.
He'll get his license eventually. I'm still having to pick him up and drive him.
It's a long ways to pick him up, too.
Yeah.
So we've talked you have this question here that I can't answer, at least not intelligently. How do you choose what you should work on first? I spend too much time in the, what's that quadrant? Urgent. Whereas like the time has arrived, but it's not necessarily important. Or the emergent. You've seen that quadrant box, right, of all the time management stuff?
I have not.
Well, you have there's 4 quadrants, and it has to do with the level of importance and the level of urgency.
Okay.
So there's some things that are really important and really urgent. There's some things that are important but not urgent. And then unimportant but urgent, unimportant, and not urgent. So we spend too much time dealing in the unimportant, non-urgent aspect of our life. And this is true across the board, that all these things, they can be done anytime, any place, anywhere. They're hobbies or, these little time wasters that we kind of get into. And so I'm making try to turn him up here.
I was like, do I have the right mic on? Is this better? Maybe I just need to sit closer to it.
That's right. Get to know it a little
Yeti.
better. So, trying to find ways to move and work on those important tasks, the important aspects of life, because we get wrapped up in just putting out fires because we've let unimportant things go, and now they become urgent, but they're not important. But we have to deal with them because they're time sensitive.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I'll have to.
It does. No, it does make sense. It'd be great if you had a graphic that would just appear right here for the later video.
Efforting.
That'll be on YouTube later.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I actually that's really really interesting, and it would be curious to see. So I work on things in different places. So I actually do a lot of work. I actually get the most amount of work done right here. This is a great place. If I'm going to write a sermon, I actually open up all the curtains. I get all the natural lighting in here, and it's amazing. It's really wonderful. Um, if I have to do this, is really, I don't know how to like say this. I'm not trying to say this like mean or anything, but my office in the church is creativity draining.
Mm-hmm.
I feel trapped. I feel drained. I feel depressed. I think those are kind of words, that I can use. And that sounds really bad. And I don't mean for it to be like I hate my office at church. I just don't like it. Like it's not an effective workspace for me. It was kind of like when I was in college, I did not enjoy doing work in my room. Like it was not a place where I could do work. However, I could go to the third floor of the library at OC and I could get a lot of work done there. There was the right amount of distraction, right amount of noise, that kind of kept me in that groove and flow chain. So what does that mean for me? That means for time management, I know that, hey, in like 3 or 4 days, I'm going to get an email that says, hey, time to turn in receipts. And so I will actually go to my office. That is a place where I can do that kind of stuff because it puts me in this mindset of, here's checks and balances, and I can get some stuff done. I can do some scheduling. I can do receipts. I can do kind of like office work. But if I'm writing a lesson, if I'm planning camp, if I'm creating great games, if I'm doing anything else that involves some sort of creative stem, it feels like I just have to be in a different place. And I'm not a coffee shop worker either. I've tried, and I just
I spend too much time having to go to the bathroom because I drank too much coffee.
yeah, that's a big one for me. Well, and my butt hurts. Like I don't like the chairs.
The chairs are not comfortable.
Yeah, so I don't know. Or like I'll get stuff done really quick because I'm like, I don't really want to be here. I don't know. I'm just not one of those people.
So what I do like, there's a couple of coffee shops that I go to under normal circumstances. And it's usually on Wednesdays. Tuesday or Wednesday is my day. There's one that's near Southern University, and we had some students over at Southern. And I would just sit up there and work for the day so that as they're coming in out of class, they can stop in the coffee shop and buy them a cup of coffee and just kind of chat with them for a little bit because we're right there on campus. And there's another one on LSU's campus.
That's cool.
And so we just sit in there. Not very efficient workplace for me because there's just too much going on. And I love just observing people as well. And so when I get in spaces like that, it's good for my mind because I get to like process a lot of things. But if there's something like if I'm trying to write a sermon, coffee shop is probably not the spot for me to be most efficient. But I like what you said when you talk about spaces. Mm-hmm. And I think about the times when we would get together and talk about camp, what was coming up. Mm-hmm. We'd always get down there in the youth room, throw a bunch of ideas on the big whiteboard. That's right. It'd start pulling and piecing stuff together. And there are those spaces where, the mind just works better.
Yeah.
And there's things to do in the office. There's things that have to be done in the office. They just can't be done anywhere else. Mm-hmm. But there's also, those places where environment matters, and so you just get in a place where your mind can open up.
I'll go ahead and speak for all ministers. Please sure do. That they have, make sure your ministers have the equipment that they need to get the work done in all the spaces that they work in. We talk about this a lot, that ministry is not just a job, it's a lifestyle. And so churches, like, it's okay. It's okay to hurt the budget just a little bit to make sure your minister has the tools in which they need. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about come on, guys. It's 2020. I'm blessed. I'm so thankful. Central got me a nice laptop that has a dock that I can bring home. I dock, I work here. I go to the coffee shop. I go to somewhere else. It's right there. I bring it out to camp. I've got all the stuff. that hooks into it. So I've got like this nucleus hub that just kind of like goes with me and works with me everywhere.
Right.
It is time. My first ministry job. Bless their hearts. I love them to death. Great people, great intentions. They got me the slowest computer. I mean, it felt like dial-up internet. It took me. It literally. Okay, so I would get there. I would open up the program. Not even like Word or Publisher. It was some third-party weird program that they wanted me to do the bulletin in. I would double-click it. I would go make coffee, not a Keurig either. I would grind and brew my coffee, and come back, and I'd still have the loading screen, of the program, and that was the computer that they wanted me to use. And so I was like, I can't do this. So I ended up taking that computer down and just using my personal laptop for most of it, which at that time was getting pretty old as well. So I mean, just making sure that our ministers are equipped with the tools that they need in order to do their work efficiently. Mainly because, like, ministers are having to take work home. We're having to take work on vacation. I love vacation, and it's really nice. I still work on vacation a little bit, not nearly as much as I used to. My hands have been slapped quite hard for working on vacation, but
Yeah.
but that's just really important, especially for time management. Because let's be fair, especially in youth ministry, and preachers have the same thing too. Like, you don't know who is going to knock on your door, right, and talk to you all day, and then just like Josh said, you get in this role at 3:55. But guess what? Jimmy's got a football game at 4:10, Josh, and he personally invited you on Sunday and really hopes that you show up.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's
And-
really important. That's
and
important
by the way,
for, for
when he
him
asked
and
you-
for his parents.
You said you would be there.
Yeah. You said no problem.
Yeah. You said I'll do my best to be there, which meant you're going to be there in their mind probably. Yeah. So Jonathan, I don't have patience issues. That's hilarious. I'd throw the
Jonathan
computer
is,
across the room.
by the way, if you guys don't know, Jonathan is our non-paid intern who runs our chat for us.
That's right.
He is awesome. He's always here. Really, props up to you, Jonathan. I appreciate you always being here. Go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
You're good. I spent the day with his dad the other day. He was just needing some help hooking up some sinks and stuff. And it was Friday, and he's like, "Can you come do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll be there." I got over there about 10 o'clock. I think I left about 2:30 or 3. It's really only about a 45-minute or an hour job. But we spent a lot of time talking, spent a lot of time making extra trips to Home Depot. We stopped and got lunch. And at the end of the day, he was like, "I really didn't anticipate this taking you 4 hours." And I said, "I did." He said, "I thought you said it was only like an hour job." It's like, "It is." I said, "But I knew I'd be here for a while." Heather's at clinicals, kids are at school. I had nothing else to do. It was my day off. And he told me later about something. I said, "No." I said, "Look, it's therapeutic for me, to kind of be in that space. Because we do spend so much time in that urgent box.
Right.
Your mind is pressed. You got to go, whether it's Saturday and either the sermon isn't just right or you have completely lost confidence in it and you're completely rewriting it.
You haven't gotten your PowerPoint to the tech guy?
Right. Yeah. Or also known as my wife, who puts the PowerPoint together. Or or class it doesn't feel right. Something feels wrong. Something's come up. Something has happened. And now then what I was going to say and going to speak on not only seems irrelevant, but may even seem callous to kind of go through and say these things in this space. And so or it's, other people's emergencies that arise that take you away from planning and participation, that kind of stuff. And so because you spend so much time in that urgent, even the urgent, important area where you're doing things that are really, really important, but because of the urgency, you're just so pressed mentally to do them and do them well. That when you get to that space where you can kind of relax and have that conversation, it's like, I didn't realize this is like therapy. Like fixing someone's sink was a form of therapy for me because it just allowed your mind to, I can put pipes together and not even hardly think about it.
So great. I mean, I just now thought about this. Like, so there is a lady at our congregation, and I have been going over, and she's out of town, so she needs someone to mow her lawn. So I went over and mowed her lawn, and somebody brought up to me, they're like, well, don't you do service projects all the time? And I had to like think about it, and I had to actually, I mean, realistically, I had to answer, no, I don't. I manage service projects all the time. You know, I go and I make sure the kids are there. I make sure they have the right equipment. I make sure that they're getting that experience. I make sure that they're getting to do work. And sometimes you get criticized for this, right? Sometimes you have somebody who sits over there and says, you know, you ought to make sure you pick up the shovel, you know, to be a good example. And I'm like, I will when I have the time, because I'm looking for volunteers and I didn't get volunteers. So I have 4 sides of a house. And so I'm with one side for 10 minutes, go to the other side, go to the other side, go to the other side. And I'm managing all these teenagers and teaching them how to paint correctly. So they're not like, painting, you know, and you're just like, no, like you got to really get in there. Okay. You know, and you're like, oh, what is going on? You know, and so you're managing all these people and all this stuff that, like, when I get a chance, and we have this group at Central called the Cornerstone Group, and it's for young adults. And when they get to go and do service projects, and Lauren and I get to be a part of that group as young adults and not as like the youth minister and youth minister's wife, like we get to just go and serve. Oh man, it is so therapeutic. Yeah, I totally agree. Like it is just, it's like, so when I got to go and mow that lawn, even though I got really frustrated because my battery wouldn't come out of my lawnmower, and I was like, I got really upset, but it was really nice to be able to go and serve and go and do something.
Sidebar, did you say your
Yes.
battery wouldn't come out of your lawnmower?
Well, you see, Josh, when you have a yard as small as mine, you don't waste money on a gas mower. You buy a battery operated mower.
I don't think a battery-operated mower would be able to travel through the swamp that is my backyard. It would probably
That's probably true.
like,
That's probably very true. You should just attach a blade to the bottom of Ruby, Sam's big wheel, and
yeah, that's right.
just drive him around.
Your dad, man. You got to have those friends who are going to offer
Code for golf time.
counseling time. It's mostly disc golf around here. I found a few guys that play golf, but it's just so stinking hot. It's hard to, you know, by the time you can actually play, it's kind of out of golf season. But
Yeah.
you know, maybe we could do a little winter golf around here. But just not a lot of folks in our circle really play a lot. But I have found several that really love to play disc golf. And I can do disc golf a little quicker, and it doesn't take as much time on a day off. So
I was always envious of those churches that had a gym or something where they could do basketball games or something like that. There's something about maybe this is a podcast in the future. Like, what are things that ministers need to do and should do for health and mental health and physical health and things like that? Because I love me a good pickup game of basketball.
yeah, you come up with a lot of good episode ideas while we're talking.
I know,
But we forget to write them down, so we've got to remember
That's
to write
true.
those things down when we get done. Yeah, leisure activity. It
if
is
I could just
important.
remember to get here.
Hey, when you're in a groove, you're in a groove, right?
That's right.
And
That's right. I
and
was
it's rolling.
So if you guys don't know, that's what we're making fun of. Is this morning I was in a work groove. I was sending emails. I was doing. My wife sent me this really great devotional, so I was reading that. I was watching a sermon online. You know, I was doing all this, and then at like 9:40, Josh texts me because I usually log in at like 9:20, and we chat and we talk before the show, and he goes, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was like, "It's Tuesday!" Like, oh, it was really bad. I felt really, really dumb, and I still do.
Happens to the best of us. Because time management's tough, man. What is something that you just absolutely love doing that actually consumes your time, all right? Not a time waster, but something
I got
that
it already.
consumes. Okay, go ahead.
Easy. My and you and Josh will laugh. He'll go, yeah, this is totally true. My absolutely favorite thing to do is to create and plan encounters. And one of my favorite ways to do it is to go to the discount section of Walmart or Goodwill and just walk through there, and then I'll see stuff. I'll already know what the theme and the idea is that I need to pull out, and then I'll see stuff and I'll be like, this broken accordion is perfect. Or something like that. And it takes a long time. Like because you have to walk around. So like I'll walk around Walmart long enough that people will think I'm gonna that I work there. Like I should put on a blue vest sometime and do it. But that's my favorite thing. Like planning encounters is really time consuming. There's a lot of creative planning. There's a lot of thinking. There's a lot of video watching. There's a lot of shopping. But it's some of my most favorite stuff to do. I love going to Home Depot and buying 60 plungers, and then like getting those conversations and people looking at you like. I had a whole bunch of stuff in a shopping cart one time, and I was at Walmart, and it was a bunch of rando stuff for a retreat, and a guy walked past me and says, "Okay, my wife and I were talking. We're betting that you're a youth minister." And I said, I am. He was like, yeah, we figured by what was in your cart.
That's funny. For me, I think probably as far as work is concerned, it probably has to do with graphics.
Really?
Designing and playing. I just get into this. I'm not very efficient at it, but I know, right? Hey. But I really enjoy it. And so when something kind of comes up and it's like, oh no, I can do that. I have the tools and equipment to do that. I'm not great at it. But I love the process of just putting things together and seeing how they blend and come up.
That's cool.
Learning how to tell a message through images and things, kind of like that. Bringing elements together.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Because font searching, I hate font searching. Dan Lovejoy is probably not watching this podcast because he's probably working. But
Who says that?
Dan Lovejoy is my go-to if I'm looking for a font. I just take a picture and I Facebook message Dan Lovejoy, and within minutes he can give me the exact font that I'm looking for to match it.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like, hey, I'm trying to convey this message. What should I use? And you have a guy who's like, ooh, you should use Roboto 44. It's perfect for that.
No,
I'm
so
like, what?
Well, when I had to draw my font for my Tigers for Christ logos, because the Tigers, the way it's written, is in a font that is owned by LSU.
Yeah.
And you can only get it by paying for the proprietary use of their font. And so I had to make one that was just close by, taking blocks and shaving off corners here and there and try to make something look similar. But it's just fun. Probably fun because it's different and unique.
Sure.
But I get in there and all of a sudden it's like, oh dude, I can't do this. I got to go. Like we got things that we got to get done now. Because half my day was spent down this rabbit hole.
No joke.
And it's crazy.
That'll happen to me. We don't even have a retreat. Like retreats coming up, and I'll get I'll get a bug in my ear, because I plan my retreats, Friday night, all day Saturday, and then Sunday morning, and so then I'll get a bug in my ear, like, oh, this would be a great retreat, and then so I have files. I have a Google Drive that just has. I shouldn't tell people this because now they're going to want a link to it. But I have a Google Drive with 3-day weekend retreats that has games, that has themes, that has passages, that has all that kind of stuff, just like ready to go. So I can just be like, all right, we're doing this one this weekend. Because I'll get that bug in my ear, and I'll just be like. I used to have it just in my phone, and then I became a big boy.
Had to start working like an adult, huh?
That's right.
Man, this is good. I needed this refresher, this encouragement to be intentional about how you spend your time, because it is really, really easy for things to just kind of get away from you.
Yeah, it is.
What's your what's the moment, man? What's the
I was gonna say it's what's our behind the beard moment? Oh no. I think our behind the beard moment is just a reminder. Your behind the beard moments today is to reveal the fact that your minister has a lot of different types of tasks going on in their lives. They have activities they have to plan. They have events that they have to go to, and they have events that they have to sit at a desk and type and do that kind of stuff. And so your behind the beard moment is a reminder that it might not always look what you think ministry should look like. But a lot of times your minister is working different hours, different places, different times for different reasons. Ministry is draining. And it is difficult, and it is hard. A lot of people go to church on Sunday to get their cup filled. That's usually when your minister is pouring his cup into other people's cups. And so giving your minister that time to fill his cup with God is extremely important. So I would say that's my behind the beard moment for you guys today is revealing that for your ministers and making sure that they are taking the time to refill their cup. And also that you're allowing them that time.
Yeah, and we didn't really even get to that aspect of time management, but
right. And it's clearly on our sheet here.
Is it?
No, it's not.
But somehow those rabbit holes are therapeutic as well. Those rabbit holes are therapeutic. Sometimes I think those rabbit holes come up to give us that space where you can just kind of breathe mentally and relax for a little bit, because you do forget about self-care when
self-care
things become so urgent.
Is extremely important, and it's really hard to do. There's a lot of guilt in ministry when you do take self-care. I always our shepherds here at Central, I love they have really good intentions of, hey, make sure you're spending time with your family, make sure you're doing this. But then sometimes it feels like when you do take that time, they're like, well, why are you taking time with, why aren't you doing this? Well, because I was taking time with my family and I was doing that.
Yeah. Some of that comes from outside. Some of it comes from inside too. That, I mean, there's kind of a guilt that we, put on ourselves to perform, sometimes at a level and in a way that people don't expect what we think they do. We assume they do. So that's good, man. I'm going to be a better time manager. Probably not today, but maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
Procrastinators unite tomorrow.
That's right. Why, as somebody extremely successful says, if you have time to do it tomorrow, why do it today?
That's what my dad always said. Why do today what you can put off till tomorrow?
Yeah, and I don't worry about tomorrow because I don't know what today will bring. So
that's right. So you're saying procrastination is scriptural?
That's right.
Is that what I'm hearing? Hey.
That is what you are hearing.
I am
not necessarily what I am saying.
No, that's awesome.
And that brings us to our next podcast. What do people hear from your sermons that you never imagined? Because I've had somebody come up to me and said, man, you made this point about this. And I look at them and I go, I did not say that, nor did I preach that. That passage that you just referenced, I didn't even say. What sermon were you listening to? Okay, that's way off. Hey, right. we want to thank you all for being here today in this time management episode. Where did all the time go? We also want to remind you of Galatians 6:9. Guys, it is so important for you just to not grow weary in doing good. Paul brings it out here in this message to the Galatians. Do not grow weary in doing good. It is hard. 2020 is hard. Today is hard. Tomorrow is hard as well. But don't grow weary in doing good. This world is messy. Life is messy. So allow Christ to use you to do something different, something good in his name. I'm Aaron. This is Josh. And we will see you next week on Behind the Beards. And I will remember to be here if you do.
till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for